When our DRI Center for Law and Public Policy, Data Privacy and Protection Working Group first met to discuss our priority project for 2024, we quickly chose misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, or MDM. Our reasons were multifold, but three key reasons stood out. First and foremost, because of the tremendous impact of MDM on global elections in 2024, which is a year of unprecedented importance, with 2024 elections globally affecting 1/2 of the world's population. Although MDM campaigns have been an issue for centuries, these campaigns are growing in both number and sophistication, thanks largely to generative AI advances. Second, because MDM is emerging as one of the most significant cyber threats to individuals and businesses worldwide. And third, because MDM is starting to rear its ugly head in trials, with deepfake and purported deepfake evidence issues already being reported.
I mean, maybe we should have a little bit of a level set, though, as to what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the various efforts. So, there's a difference between misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. So misinformation is when it's false information, but it's shared without harmful intent. It's often spread due to misunderstandings, mistakes, or rumors. So if someone sees something on the internet and they repeat it to somebody else, not knowing that what was up there wasn't right in the first place. That's an example of misinformation. Disinformation is false or misleading information deliberately created to spread and deceive and manipulate folks. So that might be the initial posting. The initial posting that someone put up that said, this crowd was, 1 billion times bigger than that crowd. That would be a piece of disinformation. If it gets spread by other people that don't really know the difference, that would be misinformation. Then there's malinformation, where it's genuine information that it's actually true, but it's maliciously sent out to cause harm, often by taking it out of context or revealing private information or inciting hate. So that might be the sort of thing where we call it doxing, where you're putting out information about someone's actual life in an area that it's real, but you're not putting it out there to be nice. You're putting it out there so other people can contact that person and tie up their phone lines, SWAT attacks, things of that nature. So those are like the building blocks of what we're talking about.
Richard, how difficult is it to identify misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation?
I mean, it's really difficult to identify it because speed and scale. A lot of the times this stuff, MDM will speed really quickly. And even before you can actually go check the facts that are being put out there, someone's already put it, something has been put out, and then it just kind of amplifies through the use of, troll farms, which are just, many bots all put together. And bots are, Sean talked about this before, bots become the critical webbing in between these things where, they are the thing that takes something from being, a small scale fire and adds gasoline on it to make it a large fire. But then you get to the, they're sophisticated tactics and there's no regulations out there. Like there's nothing that's out there that you could go point to that criminalizes a lot of this activity. And in fact, in the United States, our Constitution protects the right to spread misinformation. And so, it is it's a difficult thing to kind of get your arms around, but B, even if you got arms around them, what would you do? And all of that then kind of gets augmented again through the use of of AI to really cause people to start questioning reality from other things. Where if I can very easily now create a talking image of a politician and input whatever I want for them to say into it, my eyes will always tell me, will go to a specific place in my brain and will tell me this must be true because I'm seeing it happen in front of me. That happens enough. It becomes very difficult to kind of chip away at what someone has perceived to be the truth.
Kirsten, can you talk a little bit about how social media algorithms push content to certain individuals, how they like identify and then push content?
Me? Yeah, sure. And actually, that was sort of the point I was about to make. It was, Sean was talking about the speed at which this stuff goes, and you get a feedback loop, right? So as fast as information is going out, they're getting feedback on what's working, what's not. They're refining it as they go. And as they refine both messages going out, they're refining also who it's going to and picking those algorithms. I think I saw a lawsuit, this is not about politics, but there's a lawsuit against TikTok now that the algorithm was feeding this young woman certain content, right? And I think there's been studies that show that the content tends to be negative because that gets more of a reaction, right? So it rewards that, and so that feeds the algorithm even further. So that feedback was a really important aspect of this, I think.
You talked about targeting to kind of your beliefs or your, how does this work? Like, how do they even know what, whoever is involved in the MDM campaign, how can they identify what different individuals' beliefs are?
There are a million ways.
Oh, go ahead, Sean.
There are a million different ways to do it. One question, a threshold question, is whether they really need to. I mean, again, you can plop into my Doctor Who group, and we're discussing how the fourth Doctor is obviously the best because he is. And then, they come through and they can say, hooray for Trump, hooray for Kamala Harris. It doesn't really matter what they're doing, right? They're just trying to sow discord. Another way, though, and a lot of companies here have demonstrated how easy it is to sort of slice and dice the electorate, or the consumer base, I should say. And you could buy the list from Facebook. You can tell Facebook, let's say, I only want to advertise to data privacy attorneys in the Midwest, right? Or women over a certain age, men under a certain age, Black men over a certain age, however you want to slice and dice it, you can just buy that information from Facebook or tell Facebook or whoever, send these ads to these people, and that'll be that.
These are sophisticated campaigns. They'll generate these false articles, maybe on a site that you wouldn't trust if you saw it in the first instance, but then they'll go and they'll generate tons of social media content, blasting out that content, repeating it. Now it looks like not only do you have a news article, but you have a whole ton of people who are following it. And then they'll pay actual people in these communities to say, hey, look, this is a news story now. There's people talking about this issue. Someone else has reported it. Can you talk on that? If you think that you're not going to fall for any of this, you're wrong. They're very, very good at it. They approach it from many different angles, and they do it all the time. They pick something where they know it's a divisive issue up front, and they know that you're looking for something to support your worldview, and they will cater to it. And social media companies have done a great job, as we've said, at being able to target that at certain individuals. If you're saying, you don't necessarily even have to pay for anything like that. If you're saying one thing, the social media companies will make sure the audience who wants to see that one thing will see it.
But Bill Gates recently noted that he views this kind of disinformation and deepfakes as the #1 unsolvable problem for young people. Do you all agree? Is it the biggest problem, and is it unsolvable? I'm so interested in your input. What do you think?
I think it's definitely a big problem. I think all of us do. That's why we spend so much time in the paper, which is, really, really proud of. But is it unsolvable? A lot of problems seemed unsolvable until they got solved, smallpox or flying to the moon, what have you. Is it going to be easy? Well, no. I think back because, I consider myself a sophisticated thinker. So I think often about the 1993 movie Rising Sun, starring Wesley Snipes, and I think it was Sean Connery. And the conceit of this movie was that this kind of xenophobic, but the Japanese sort of figured out how to manipulate videos to trick people into thinking something was fake or real. Then they mentioned this brand new program called Photoshop. And a few years later, Photoshop was kind of a joke. Everybody could immediately look at a Photoshop and see something's gone awry, and people laugh at it. I suspect strongly that we'll get better and better at figuring out AI, even as AI gets better and better at generating videos. It'll be something of an arms race, but I think pretty soon we'll be able to figure that out. In terms of a specific solution, what a lot of people like to do is use AI to detect AI, right? So there are one of two ways. The easier way is if all the AI video companies agree to put in an AI watermark, and the AI watermark has to be in there. Ideally, that would be sort of legislated by the federal government. And if you got busted using an AI-generated image without that watermark, you're in trouble, buddy. And then the AI programs to detect that, that'd be the easier way. Now, I am not 100% confident that Russia and China will agree to go along with this. And so we have the other way whereby the AI just sort of figures out, it can sort of tell what's real, what's not. And it's another one of those arms race things, because AI is not great at detecting other AI things. But like everything else, I mean, if we say the bad guys get better, well, the good guys are going to get better too. We'll work. Will that be sort of an arms race? Yes, it will be. But I, think that the problem is still solvable. I don't think there's some sort of law of nature, like the speed of light or something like that, that would keep us from solving this particular problem, like we have so many others.
Well, first of all, you're assuming that the moon landing actually happened, but we'll come back to that. I think you're right, though. I think you're right, though. I mean, is it solvable? I think probably not. I think it's manageable. And as we said at the outset, this has been a centuries-long, probably millennia-long dilemma, right? So all that's changed is the technology and the pace. In terms of, is this a big threat for young people? I think yes and no. Yes, in the sense that it's already hard enough to get young people engaged in politics and the political process. If you convince them before they're even old enough to vote that there's no point because the whole game is rigged, you never know what's real, there is no reality, whatever the tack is that you're going to take, then you disenfranchise people, you discourage them from even participating. That's incredibly dangerous for democracy and also for the future that those young people are going to inherit. So absolutely, that's a huge problem. At the same time, this is a generation that's more savvy about these things than we were, and certainly more savvy than the older people, the older generations of people who do vote, will vote, and are more likely to fall for this. One of my favorite data points about Gen Z is that a Gen Z person, to make the point about the dangers of these kinds of, these kinds of disinformation campaigns, actually started the birds aren't real conspiracy theory, which is a parody conspiracy theory that suggests that birds are actually drones, government drones flying around surveilling and keeping track of everybody. And this went everywhere. This went viral. It went global. I found flyers for it on telephone poles in the east end of my city. It
was covered by 60 Minutes in a 20-minute segment.
Exactly right. So some of the faith that I have in this is that this is a generation that sort of understands that this is built into the game, but also that it's manipulable and it may not be solvable, but it's manageable. But it does require a lot of effort and a lot of faith in the tools we use to fix things.